keeps on coming. Welcome to the Breakfast Lounge, your daily talk show on 102.7 FM, featuring special guests with your host, Lady Grace. Now let's get started.
After the hour. I owe you five. I owe you five. Okay, I'm counting, right? Good morning once again, radio listeners, and welcome to the Breakfast Lounge here on 102. Yesterday, of course, as you know, we were on somewhat of a pause. I wouldn't really refer to it as a pause, but yesterday, July 2nd, was actually postulation day for the snap elections on August 19th. 8 parties in total submitted their list of candidates, and almost well, amongst those parties, of course, if you were watching or listening to us here, was the Yellow Party, the Now Party. And joining me this morning is the number 2 candidate and the party's deputy leader, Mr. Claudius, affectionately known as Township Bun Camper. Township, good morning and welcome back. Nice to see you again. It's been almost a year. Well, I mean, I see you every time on your podcast, but nice to have you back into your viewers, of course, also.
Thank you very much,
so
Grace.
You basically move your podcast now to Breakfast Lounge, and I'm happy for that.
Yes, the Wednesdays.
Wednesdays, yeah.
I have always, I love the Breakfast Lounge program. I think you have a great base, but especially the base of the seniors. Mm-hmm. It is it's a group of people that I have come out for consistently in my political career since 2020. I've always spoken about the seniors and the difference we need to make in their quality of life. While they have worked hard all their lives, we have realized that over time things change. We have crises in the world, we have wars in the world, we have bad hurricanes. Look what Beryl just did to Carriacou and them, and my prayers with the people down there. 90% of the homes have been destroyed. Right. We have a Lions Club down there on the ground, so we have good information coming in. Okay. We are busy now also as district preparing to send especially what they really need right now is water. Toiletries, and canned food. Good. Remember, electricity is a no-go right now down there, so they have big problems. And it is basically looking at how we were after Irma, the first 3 weeks, before you could really get power up and all. The people who had generators got away with murder, but the common man did not have electricity after Irma, and the same is happening down there right now. So in that sense, yes, it's a tough pill because it's so early in the season. Normally these type of category 5 hurricanes, you get them late August, early September. That's when the season really starts, Grace. And I miss it a little bit now that I am, this government is working to reinstate me now so I can go back and do what I do very well. Right. And that is handle infrastructure in this country. Correct. There's not many people that can tell me in my face, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Some will always do it because they're just a hater. But when you talk to people like a colleague of mine in Parliament and someone I have utmost respect for as a sportsman, a politician, and sometimes even a mentor, William Allen, he said, if you want the job done, call Bunks. Because we might not always see eye to eye in certain things, but he had respect for my ability. And that's something that many others sometimes don't have anymore because they don't like to listen to those that know. They want to create a new playing field, and very often that playing field, if you don't know the facts, you're going to get striked out before you even come up to bat. And that has happened to the infrastructure in Sint Maarten. We took a beating the last 4 years. No trenches have been cleaned on contract for the past 3 years. We still don't have stormwater pumps. The landfill didn't go no place from where we left it in 2020, And not to beat the minister, because while he might be at the head of the problem, he isn't the problem alone. Because when you look at the surroundings, look what happened to GEBE over the past 4 years. Look at the crisis we are in today. And, I heard some other people say, oh, but that there for 30 years. No, it was not. GEBE was not at its best, but GEBE was doing well, in my opinion. GEBE was doing reasonably well from 2016 to 2020. They were not doing bad. Sure, they went through Irma, and with next to nothing, they brought back this island with electricity. So I'm saying, you know, you have to look at it from that sense. If you look at our internet system right now on the island, it is in a very serious problem, because remember, thank God that certain banks have direct lines. They have their dedicated lines. Otherwise, they were in trouble. People can't make transactions.
Right.
Card machines ain't working.
Restaurants.
Businesses are losing money because people come there with a credit card to eat and then don't have money. So the owner finds himself shuttling the people to a bankomatico to get money so he can be paid for his services.
So that's what's happening actually.
That happens on the Simpson Bay Strip a lot.
Wow.
Because remember, people walk in there and you don't have the card machine working now, or it ain't working. So it starts working and halfway it ain't working. You know, these are the type of things that we are not understanding the damage being done to our business. People don't understand that every 5 minutes that GEBE is out, this country suffers economically severely. And that's why I have problems with approaches of how we going to approach a problem. It isn't that I have an issue with the coalition I'm part of, but I do have a fundamental issue that green energy is pushed aside for engines. And we might differ in opinion, but I stand by my opinion. And the difference between me and many others, I can defend my opinion. Others just give an opinion for the sake of giving an opinion because it sounds nice. It sounds great. You see, but this is the results of 4 years. You want to call it stable government. I call it the inability to govern. That has put us where we are today. So, you know, I don't want to, and I'm not going to be doing it this campaign season at all, beating up on people, because it's not going to yield any results. I'm going to try to bring solutions that are plausible.
And that's what people want.
Yes, that can work.
Right.
People are tired of hearing who did it and who didn't do it, who's doing a shaggy now, it wasn't me.
Who came and met it there.
You know, again, none of that is going to do the most important thing for the people of Sint Maarten. How can I better my life? How can my money take me bigger places? How can my money give me more food? How can my money ease the burden that I have with GEBE and with other things like transportation? You know, that's what people are interested in. People want to know, how can I go from a minimum wage to a livable wage? Those are the things that people really want to hear. And not people pounding on their chest, oh, I was there for 4 years, I give stability. You did not. Look at GEBE, look at TLM, look at ANIA, look at the central bank. I mean, you know what's so funny with the central bank? We are one of the few parties that said, let's secede from the central bank, let Sint Maarten get its own bank. I will give former MP Rolando Bryson kudos, because he was in that team with Christopher and myself.
Right. Okay.
And we always said, we got to get our own bank. When you have your own bank, you have your own development bank. You can get venture capital and you can start building starter homes for the people in this country. Now we are depending on any bond, any loan for Holland to say, yes, I'll give it to you, because they give favorable rates and we always go there. But what's wrong with the Chinese in a venture capital? You know, we say, oh God, look what the Chinese did. No, what the Chinese have done all over the world is come with their money. And if you don't pay me back, I'll take what's mine. Now, a bank does that too. The difference is we read about it in auctions, when the notaries are auctioning off the houses and all those things. It's no different.
Okay,
it's no different. But because we see the Chinese as a communist or something like that, we think wrong. And I'm saying business is business. As long as you do it the right way, the country will prosper. But we have to stop crossing people and not living up to our agreements to pay. That's why the Dutch have us where they have us, because we don't live up to our agreements. Can't blame everybody for everything when you fail yourself. And these are the type of things, Grace, that I think people want to see a party that is willing to stand up and fight for them. Not for the party, not for the politician, but for the country. And look, I've been around politics a long time. And I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and today even the crazy. Because there's some crazy things going on right now in politics. And every man, every woman for himself.
Right.
But I think the people of Sint Maarten have to be very cautious with what's being presented. You know, we always say we are doing it for whatever cause. If that cause is not country, then the cause is wrong.
You hear it every time, country above self.
Yeah, but we don't we say it, we take the oath, but very often they don't preach it.
Right, right. Now, one of the things, I said this last week. I was speaking to one of my guests in the Breakfast Lounge, and I'm going to refer back to the Wednesday editorial of the Daily Herald, which says the least worse. And one of the things that they said, and I thought it was so interesting, and I actually took it, I made a copy of it, and it said, regarding the elections that, and it reads here, and I quote, "Some suggest a similar outcome, but especially with new parties as well as politicians switching allegiance, that won't necessarily be the case." It says here, "Besides, not everybody votes the same all the time." All right? Then it continues, "For those who find it difficult to choose," and this I thought was interesting, "a so-called process of elimination might work. Start by deciding which parties you definitely won't support based on the persons involved, what they stand for, past experience, etc. Then look on the individual list of the others and rule out any candidates you would not back for whatever reason. Carefully study the remaining names, what they have said and particularly done, etc." So, in a nutshell, when it comes to this election, we saw what happened back in January, okay? And I'm going to talk to you about this narrative that, well, you not being able to take your seat. But the overall picture, this is excluding you from this, is that people have to learn and be educated on how to vote. That's how I basically see it, that instead of just running and voting for the most popular man or woman on the list, be conscious of the people that you vote for and who you would look at and say, okay, I can see this person actually making St. Maarten a better place in the next 4 years.
Correct. And that's the narrative.
The narrative,
That's
right.
the narrative we have to talk about. People found the narrative last election for me was he can't take his seat, which was a lie, a blatant lie. Had Christopher Emmanuel been appointed a minister, I would have been an MP today. There's no ifs and buts about that. The law is very clear on it. Those that want to propagate a different message, I understand that. They have an agenda, because that agenda is not Sint Maarten. Because everybody knows Boncampa goes back 8 generations. I go back. Ask how many of them even got 1 generation going back. So when you want to talk about country, if there's no patrimony in your hand, not pretentious patrimony, patrimony, I have no other place to go to. I ain't burying in no other country. I ain't taking my ashes back to another country because that's where I'm from. No. You see, politics in Sint Maarten, we have to start understanding its value. You know, I had a discussion with somebody and they said to me, you know, politics in Sint Maarten is a strain because we're a multi-ethnic, multi-racial community.
Correct.
And very often, when you hear the old people talk, you always hear them referring to back home. But back home should be here. If this is your country, if you want to decide the future of this country, then this should be back home for you, not another country.
Excluding back, just say home.
Exactly.
Right.
That's where I want to go.
Yeah, okay.
The narrative should not be back home. The narrative should be home. What we are doing here, what we want to do here. And you know, listen, we have a younger generation that sees things very different and have been sometimes indoctrinated that, oh, this party was bad, oh, this group of people were bad. And it's unfortunate because what they did is they took us out of the darkness and put us in the light and eventually made us the place in the Caribbean that over the years we have lost that because we always enjoy tearing down each other instead of supporting each other and building home. Not building back home, but building home here. If you go down to to some of the places like Western Union, and you see the money flight.
And if you go to the post office,
MoneyGram.
MoneyGram.
It's not building home, you know. It's building back home. And this is what we need to understand. This country needs everybody on board.
But hasn't it been like that many, many years ago where
Yes.
people actually would travel, or because they couldn't find work in their country, they
Agreed.
would go elsewhere
Yes.
and leave their family behind and
Yes.
work to actually support their family?
But again, those countries too. We did it in the 20s. We went to Santo Domingo, went to Curacao, Aruba with Shell and Lago, and we worked there and we would come back and bring money. And as
Exactly.
your country develops,
Develops, right.
others will try to come by you. Now, look, I'm not talking about refugees because of wars and so like what they had with Venezuela or Ukraine. But even that, look at the effect it has had now in Curacao and Aruba. The Venezuelans, look at the effect the Ukrainians have had now and the African movements into the European Union.
Exactly.
That far rights parties are winning. And what do they say? Clean up the immigration mess.
Exactly.
Get them out of the country.
But even in the US,
So what I'm trying to say is, while I have empathy for what's happening, there comes a time when we have to say, if we're not taking care of our own, how can we take care of others? We are importing poverty by allowing this system. People come in here, live in very harsh conditions, deplorable conditions, so they can take care of their family back home. But
I've heard that.
It's called
And not
imported poverty. This has gone on for
Yeah,
years. For years.
Yeah.
No, I'm not blaming the government for this. I'm
No.
blaming the narrative. We have to have a paradigm shift.
So how do you control that? How do you control that? Because we're saying, and I of course, I've said it, that this is something that we saw for many years, and it's not saying that, oh, we don't want you here, but we never actually controlled it. It was never under control.
Grace, I think we can't afford it. It isn't that we
Can't
don't want
afford.
you.
Okay.
It isn't that we don't want you. But at this point in time, we can't afford it. Grace, we have compulsory education, which means every child has a right to education. So if a child is here illegally or not, that child has a right to education. It's the right of the child. The problem is who's paying for it? We are. The few taxpayers pay for the social well-being of a country. And when that base is getting too small, then we have to figure out, how do we make money? How do we make more money if we want to continue supporting this methodology, this style of living in country Sint Maarten?
Is it out of control?
Yes, in my opinion, yes, it is. I think when you look at the school results of this year, especially the public schools and so, I think we didn't have a good year. I don't think we had a good year, and there are many reasons, most probably. I'm sure one of them is the studying environment. Remember the heat, children, no air conditions, no
Right.
fans. You saw how many schools came out on strike
Totally,
and sit
yeah.
out. Those things have affected the well-being of the child.
What about the immigration system now?
I don't understand the immigration system so good anymore, Grace, because I thought we had border controls. And I thought we signed agreements with the Dutch that they would help us with border control. And border control means the flow of illegals, the flow of undocumented people. Let me not use the word illegals, let me use the word undocumented
Yes.
people. And too many are still here. You look at SFV and you hear of the thousands of people that are medically insured but are undocumented. Something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong. So you have them in your health system, you have them in your education system. Where we don't have anyone is in the tax system. Because we have such a fallback position when it comes to taxes that I don't want to say the tax office is not doing its job. Too often you hear, oh, we don't have enough capacity, or we don't have the right capacity. And I'm saying, no, I disagree with that. I think we can drive down and go and visit stores and ask them for their crib number. That's all. Can I see your crib number? Are you paying taxes? You know, I'm not talking about an audit. I'm just talking, let a local open a place. They're down there tomorrow. How many places are opened by third parties that we don't even know of? I am sometimes amazed when I see in the National Gazette the amount of people that the marshals are looking for.
Really?
All because of taxis.
Okay.
They're not compliant. And it's just, you know, I don't know if these are just businesses open to write off things. I don't know. I don't want to go in depth because I'm not versed in it yet. And I don't want to put foot in my mouth
Yeah,
or
right.
throw them under the bus when it's not necessarily. I think
Right.
the tax office is trying their utmost. I think they need help in automating the system and, you know, cross-referencing data with SNV and other people, maybe GEBE, TLM, who have the database of who all got current, who all got water, who all got internet. You must be living here, you must be doing business here, so maybe that way, you know, you can get more people, Chamber of Commerce, I don't know, banks, I don't know, you know, but the data has to be cross-referenced.
Okay. Yesterday, postulation day, something I wanted to touch on. In your opinion, what is it that actually, basically, I see the party, you have some new candidates, and you sort of like revamp the party somewhat. How do you feel about the Now Party?
I think we're going to do well, Grace. I'll be honest with you, I think we're going to do well for two reasons. Okay, our slogan is that now is here, but I think we have shown in the 3 months that we have controlled the Ministry of Justice and Education. You have seen change, serious change, good change. Some people call him Batman, others call him Superman, but I think Minister Lewis is doing one hell of a job. I think that's going to pay off at the polls for him and for the party for sure. I think Christopher has held his head high in Parliament and has been able to steer the now narrative, nation, opportunity and wealth. And yes, while we might have had a setback with Mr. Mingret when he pulled the plug on the coalition, I don't want to blame Mr. Mingret alone. I want to do like how the prosecutors are doing now. Let's hold on to the enablers too. So let us not only hold on to those that are doing wrong, but let's hold on to those that are paying to have it done wrong. Because you see, when you look at the certain parties, when you see the money that they are flaunting, let me tell it to you, they don't earn that money. Donors give them that money. And donors give you money to buy influence. That's what they do. They don't give it to you because they like you. They give it to you because you owe them. So when you see fellas doing big parades and all kind of crazy things, ask yourself, what did that cost country St. Maarten after elections? Because that's the question to ask. That's the question people need to understand. When you vote, you know, people say, oh, people always take in money. But for God's sakes, what have they gotten the last 4 years other than bad GB, bad TLM, high food prices, crazy electricity prices, crazy fuel prices? Nothing. Lies upon lies upon lies. Look at Great Market. That is a scandal in the making. You know, we talk about exclusivity. This word exclusivity is popping up more and more. And Grace, I want to know, just drop off target a minute to come back on target. In 2020, I campaigned on the taboo weed. I campaigned on it. I said, let's bring a tolerance policy. Let's legalize weed.
Cannabis. Right.
Cannabis.
Right.
In its natural format. No coating and all that craziness. Everybody was watching me funny. But then Bankamba got elected. What? That must be something good. So now everybody on the weed wagon. Let me put it so. What I have a problem with is, in 2020 when I joined Parliament, I requested that a tolerance policy be introduced to St. Maarten. We already had a hemp policy that hemp products could be sold on the island.
Correct.
By certified
Licensed.
not businesses. You had to be how do you call those people? A druggist.
Right.
To be able to sell it, because you had to learn what all the consequences could be. And that policy was introduced in 2019, August 2019 to be very specific. So what we have now is 4 years later, still no tolerance policy, still people going to jail for having some weed or being arrested, spending a few days in jail and then let go, and then either get community service or or maybe an extended
Minor
stay.
offenses,
But
basically.
bottom line is they have a police record. And that means if you want to do something very often, you want to work on the airport, that's not possible anymore because you got a police record. Now, we just had the governor of Massachusetts, Governor Brown.
But he did.
He pardoned 175,000 people with minor weed cannabis issues. You know, and I'm saying to myself, okay, so what happened in St. Maarten? And then here it comes. There was a request for proposal. You all can remember that? The Minister of VSI said he's doing a request for proposal. What the minister did not tell the people, and I hope he does tell them this campaign season so they know where they stand, is what's really going on.
What is going on?
I'll tell you what I understood is going on. The Canadian group said they will prepare the legislation needed to do this. So to legalize hemp and cannabis and be able to sell it. The exclusivity is given to them for 5, and now they ask for 10 years, that only they can export it. They also will get the 8 licenses that are earmarked for coffee shops
Here
on the island. And the locals will have to go through them.
So,
If this is working for your people and ensuring that the boys on the block who have gone to jail, some have died in this industry, will have to work for a foreigner again? But then, let's make it happen. Make what happen?
Setting up of the coffee shops like the ones that they have in Amsterdam with the blue lights.
Those licenses, there are 8 licenses.
So that is already in process?
This is the agreement they made.
Oh, like that.
This is where exclusivity, once again, because that's the terminology the former government has lived off. Exclusivity, because it excludes all of us and only includes them. This is what went down. You remember they had a friends and family syndrome? Look at what's happening now. Great market pops up as a scandal. This whole cannabis can pop up like a scandal with exclusivity because those that were supposed to be, when I told them this, I said, that business is for those in the business, locally, not foreigners. Foreigners could go and do it in their country. But in our country, it should be for we the Sint Maarteners.
We should benefit from it.
Exactly. Because if you like it or not, we need to diversify our economy. We need to find other pillars of income than tourism alone. And if you can export hemp or cannabis products, you're going someplace. And to deal with a financial matter, because this is a financial matter, that type of money is seen very often as dirty money, illegal money. But if your country makes it legal, and your country has its own bank, and that bank is backed by a Dutch bank that allows this to happen in the Netherlands, then I think your money is safe.
When we talk about the legalization of the cannabis, though, where is the cannabis coming from? I mean, we have to start.
Here.
We're going to plant it here.
Oh, we planted it already. Let us not pretend. Yes. I mean, look, there's weed being planted all over the island.
Right.
And I'm very happy that there is a tolerance on that with the law enforcement. I haven't seen them mashing up much weed farms. Thank God for that.
But are these Canadians that you're talking about, are they coming in and they bought a plot of land where they're going to grow their own cannabis, or they're going to be working with us?
I think they're going to work most probably with the people them, but again, they're working for them. So the profit margin is not going to be by the grower or by the distributor. It's going to be by the owner of the licenses, which is the Canadian group. This is what it's about. There are various models. You know, you have the Antigua model, you have Grenada and all that, but you also have the St. Vincent model, where a lot of money can be made for government through taxation. Right now, you don't know where the models are. I understood they're trying to use the St. Vincent model so government can make some money, but they are excluding the population. And I think that's wrong. Listen, the cruise industry is a great industry. And I'm sure 20% of the people that get off at those ships walk down the boardwalk looking for a bag so they can smoke a little something before they get back on the ship. You go to Mexico, same nonsense happens. You go Aruba Kyoso, same thing happening. So we should not be naive and pretend, like how we pretend that other things don't exist, like prostitution, and we do as if it doesn't exist. While we give out a bunch of licenses, we call them exotic dancers. We know better. No, you see, that's the hypocrisy I have with this matter. We scream about weed, but we allow that to happen in clear daylight. I mean, they got big names out here. Nice names about these big flashy lights. We got casinos all over the place. And those are things that have made our people addicts, gambling addicts. Women do things in bathrooms for $20 to go back and play the machine. Look, I ain't beating up on the casino, because the casino is a business. It's like in Nevada.
Well, it's a dirty addiction, though.
But it is one that we have to learn to control, because the law says you can't go in more than 4 times. So why are we allowing them every day? Why do we allow people to go in every day?
How
We
many
don't
times
check.
do you even see a controller by the door when you go to a
But we
casino?
don't check. The controllers used to be paid also partially by the casinos. What do you expect? You gonna cut the hand to feed them? No, man. It's not good. Look, we have to be honest. I have a whole problem with the manner of taxation. Every business has to pay turnover tax. Casinos play a flat rate. Gambling, the number of places they play a flat rate. Why? Then let a restaurant play a flat rate too.
So whether you
them
make profit or not, that's the rate. That's the rate that you continue to pay.
I think they pay 50,000 a month.
And that's
A
it.
casino, that's it.
So they make 500,000. Their rate still stays at
They make
50,000.
they make $1 million. It's still
It
50.
still stays at
They make 5 million. And remember, many of these casinos, they have these big poker runs and poker nights.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again,
Got junkers coming in.
I don't have an issue with that part of the business. I have an issue with the business of how do we tax it, how do we deal with it exactly. I think that's where we're missing the boat. We are not honest with the population, because you can't squeeze the population, and your biggest industry, which is the gambling industry on this island, pays about 7 million on taxes a year.
Do we control online gambling here also?
Absolutely not.
Not
It's
really.
something that in Curacao, because remember, we don't even have a gaming board. This gaming board is an elusive something. It looks like everybody's afraid to bring it. I don't know the concept why. I know in Curacao it became a big problem because they tied the online gambling to the Russian mob and all those type of things. I don't want to say online gambling in Sint Maarten is tied to anything. I don't know, and I'm not going to make. I'm not going to make those type of statements because I
Right.
don't know. But what I do know is it is a very influential business on this island. It has a lot of control on a lot of governments that have sat. So that, yes, is very clear. You hear them talk. We have the Phillipsburg government. We used to have the government in the harbor. We used to have the government in Maho, and now we have the Puerto Cupocoi government. So no, that's because that's where the money is.
Yeah.
You see whole parties, not one, not two, but maybe 3, 4 parties are funded because they buy into the governments. It is, you want to make sure, you will not see a wise businessman give one party money alone. You'll see them spread
it
their
out.
money
It's spread
because
out.
you're spreading the risk, not the love.
Right.
You're spreading the risk, but you're also buying in as secure as possible.
But isn't it in politics though that I've always, well, not always heard this, but in politics you don't spend your money, you spend other people's money.
Like I said, right now, that's not their money. They don't make that money on a year basis in
Exactly.
Parliament, so
Right.
it's not theirs.
Okay.
Um,
But what is it about it though that because I know in the United States also you got donors also have
Yeah.
big donors that
Sure.
actually contribute to either Republican or the Democratic Party. But what is it that about St. Martin where businesses actually, what is so wrong about it? Let me put the question. What is so wrong about it that if companies or their donors out there who said, I want to donate to this particular party?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with you and their guidelines, financial guidelines for party. I think a donor can give a maximum of $50,000 per year to a political party.
Okay.
But my thing is this: it is maybe wise to change to the Dutch system, where the state gives the political party the money. Every party gets equal amounts. And with that, you run a campaign. So if you run a campaign that is more, let's say everybody gets 100,000 guilders or 200,000 guilders. That means right now you have 8 parties, 1.6 million guilders. That's being given through country Sint Maarten to the political parties.
Sort of like a control on the northern side.
Correct.
Yeah.
What it means is they're going to look at your election. They're going to run the numbers on what was spent. You cannot put in money. That's the money you can spend. That means vote buying is basically nearly off the books. Because between your campaign material, your media, and so, you're going to spend the money that way. If you look at it in Holland, it's different. The campaign is totally different. The way they do things is different. The education of the voter is different. Now, I'm not saying we got to do everything like what they do, but that seems to work better than what's happening down here. The big money parties, they try to control it. Look, people say, well, because you get the money get done. So I've been around the money, I've seen it. I've been DP for many years in my life.
I know.
So I know how it works.
Yeah.
You know, people believe that because you're here, you don't know what's happening. You know what's happening. You just choose. You see, I want to give Chris a lot of credit for that. You know, some people don't understand. Sometimes you have to say no. If your belief is country above self, country above others, it means you have to say no to those that want to buy in to your government. Because your government doesn't belong to them, you can't buy it. The government, you are elected by the people for the people. That's what it's about. And we have made that choice consciously. So you will not see 150 billboards out there. You will not see 50 buses with windows. No, you're not going to. You'll see candidates walking around in the districts, maybe with a pamphlet, and talking, showing you what do we bring to the table. When you ask Bancampa, what do you bring to the table? Why would I elect you? Well, I think I know the government system. I have a vast knowledge. I want to say most probably one of the best on the island when it comes to infrastructure management. There are very few people can teach me disaster management. I have a proven track record. I don't talk it alone. I walk it.
Do you think we're ready for this hurricane? Are we ready?
No, we are
this
not.
hurricane season?
No, we are not. We are
You
definitely not.
You
ready.
spoke about the trenches, and
Yeah.
you can see that the trenches have
The
not
trenches
been
are a
cleaned.
disaster. They're now trying to get it done. This government is now in there for about 2 months, and they are really fighting because you have to go pull up all the documents. You have to see, are the tenders still valid? Can you issue the tenders that were done 2-3 years ago? Because it was clear that the former government was not going to issue the tender to the person that won it, or the company that won it. They wanted it to go elsewhere. So they held on to it. This thing about we saving money. You're not saving money. You're destroying the country. What happened if Beryl had passed up here, we were gone. We would not be talking about elections. We'd be talking about rebuilding this country again with the government that's sitting there, because you can't have elections.
You can't have elections.
You can't have elections. So again, we don't have a stormwater pump yet. I left that ministry 4 years ago. And it's still in there. It didn't even order. And then you ask yourself, well, what have you been doing as government? Because this is not the minister alone. This is the government is sitting by and allowing this to happen. Look at coastlines that are being destroyed. That is buying an influence. When you have the influence that you can go and mash up the coastline, dig up the hills. And they say, but it wasn't me. And then the shaggy game starts. But what are the consequences? None. Pride Foundation, they're screaming, but nothing happens. Now we have a minister of Romy that is now stepping up to the plate and saying, enough is enough. This is not going to happen. You have judges pulling back, giving the government instructions to revoke building permits that were issued under very, very dubious conditions.
Dubious in what sense?
That a parcel of land, say you can build 3 apartments, you now have 54 condo building permit being granted after you are out of office. I mean, come on, man.
And this puts more pressure on GEB right now. When you actually have all of these buildings.
GB's problems also stem from partially government not working with them. I heard them made a statement before, and I smile sometimes because anytime you're going to put big companies online, like hotels and so, GEBE must be part of that discussion. And that's why I'm so agitated in a way that we are now speaking about buying engines when we are not even considering starting green energy now. It won't be online tomorrow. It will take 6 months to a year and a half. But start it. We're not even considering it. All we are considering is buying 3 new engines, buying 20 other small and I'm saying,
doing what we know, and we see that it does after a certain period of time. It breaks down again.
TNO says you must use alternative energy. Solar is the best for Sint Maarten right now. We have enough roofs to put it on, but we are not entertaining it. You have the EU Commissioner saying you all can't go no place because you're tied to fuel. Yet you are going to buy 50 megawatts of fossil fueled engines to tell me then, after that, I go and check it out. You see, for me it's simple. And no pun intended with this. I mean it very seriously. When you have a great surgeon, he can do a great operation on the person. But a surgeon operating on a country and he doesn't know what he's operating on will only lead to a fatality.
That's 2 different things.
And GEBE is a fatality in the making. I want to implore the Prime Minister, review your position on those 3 engines. Look at solar. I know they went to BZK, and Van Hofland told them, because she sent a letter to the second chamber. You see, we don't follow the Dutch politics enough. But in that second chamber, she said there is money available for solar, alternative energy. I am not giving Sint Maarten a loan to buy no engines. So BZK is off. I think Sierra also told the Prime Minister, don't put all your eggs in a basket.
I remember that, right.
And there's a reason for that,
Yeah.
because they're not going to give us a loan for that. So where's that money going to come from? Because CFT was very fast now to jump up and say, Sint Maarten is not getting any loans. And then you had a former Minister of Finance saying, oh, let's take all the capital loans that we have on budget 2024 and give it to GEBE. CFT said, no, go and make a decent budget first. Because the budget 2024 was a budget that was passed because of a timeline, a deadline. March 31st, don't pass it, sanctions. That's why we passed budget 2024, but it's a wishy-washy budget. Why do you think the teachers that belong to school boards did not get their 1% vacation allowance or their COLA? Because it was never on the budget. They signed off all kind of covenants, but they never put it on the budget. So how are you going to pay it? One of the reasons they are asking for an amended budget is so that they can pay those people. Those people deserve their vacation allowance, they deserve their COLA, but truth be told, it was a lie when they signed off that covenant that they had any intentions of paying it. Because they signed it off just before the January elections. And they say, yeah, but you come and you do not, but you were there till May 3rd. Why didn't you fix it on May 11th? And make sure the people then will get their money. Why didn't you have the amended budget 2024 in Parliament and passed?
So the blame basically falls on the current government.
They're trying to blame it. That's what they did with the last thing. They're going to walk out with the Minister of Finance said, I am paying the 1% on the 26th when the budget is legally law. Only then can they do that, because you cannot pay something that was not part of a budget that's approved or was used in the previous budget 2023. Let's say if in 2023 there was a 1% vacation, extra vacation pay, they could have done that. But it wasn't. Yeah. It was just the 6% and not 6 plus 1. So, you know, and those are the things that people need to understand. We play old school politics sometimes. If I can't convince you, I can confuse you. And then they say, yeah, is this company doing that? And they did this and they did. But please, this is nonsense. Because the only people that are losing is the population. The politicians are not losing. Don't let them fool you.
If you repeat a lie as often as possible, as much as possible, it becomes the truth eventually.
Correct. And some parties are very good at that. The NA party is extremely good at that, because they have lied so consistent that people believe it's the truth. And Grid Market was a great example because they lied there.
Yeah.
They lied to the people. They lied
Tell us a little
to.
bit more about this grid market because I read it in part, this gentleman, and I saw the document that was actually signed. I think it was in 2021
Yeah.
by the then Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs.
Yes. Oh, well, look, I don't think Grid Market is a bad something.
I was going to ask, is it good? Was it good? Or
Look,
was it
Grid
good or
Market,
bad?
Grid Market is just in between. They are middleman. They bring knowledge, capacity. The thing that the Dutch always tell us we missing capacity. They bring capacity to the table to say, okay, we will review what's the best way forward for NVGB when it comes to solar energy, wind energy, waste energy, alternative energies. Anything other than fossil fuel, we will look at it. And what was in the MOU is they will decide who will do it and how they will do it. So, qua the renewable. That was the exclusivity given. This same type of exclusivity was given in the state of Samoa. That became a problem. And those people spoke out about it in 2023.
Okay. This is in Samoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you would want to hope that by then, when you see this happening, that you start to look closer and closer at what's really happening home. GEBE was not a part of this whole grid market setup. So and that was the revelation when Christopher Emmanuel read the letter of the former statutory director of GEBE that he could not give them information because it was confidential information. And if he would do that, he might find himself in a breach of confidentiality. But they still got the information. The question is, how did they get it? Why would government sign off on such an agreement if there's information that should not have been there or should not have been given? And the exclusivity part is what caught a lot of people's attention. And in my opinion, is one of the leading factors why GEBE is still on the Indian patrol, so that they can circumvent grid market. That's my personal belief. I can't prove it, but I'm going to say it. Because I cannot understand why the management of GEBE would buy 50 megawatts of diesel-powered engines, bunker seat-powered engines, when you are told by the EU Commission that the fuel giants got you locked down in a contract, so you can't do alternative energy because you got to buy fuel from them.
You're talking about salt.
That's the distributor on the island.
Right.
Yes. So this was said by the EU Commission. Why would you go and buy or commit yourself to 50 megawatts? Now, mind you, you are bringing back in engine 19 that you're going to fix the crankshaft. You're putting back 8 and 9 online. You're putting back on 18. So at the end of the day, you're going to have 70, 75 megawatt between those engines, and the old ones you can, discard, clean up the powerhouses. My question is, if you got 75 or 80 megawatt that is new, you ever call it new, why would you go, and those engines going to run for the next 20 years, why would you go and invest in something else? You got to pay for all those engines already. Plus you're going to invest in something else to go pay for? I don't understand. That's not good business sense.
Like we say, make sense or make sense.
I can't make sense out of this one.
Yeah, make it make sense,
Yeah.
like we would say.
But it's a difficult thing. And when you ask the question, they look at you as if, oh, you're causing trouble. No, I'm not causing trouble. Because the people that are paying for this is not only me and you. It's the country is paying for this. And if you want to help people, you have to give them more buying power. Their money has to take them further than it's taking them right now.
Exactly.
Because right now, when you finish paying house rent and GEBE, you don't even got money for food. You don't even pay TLM yet. This is the problem. You got 54% of your population earning minimum wage, and we boasted about minimum wage is not even a livable wage. It's $1,700 short of a living wage. So again, we have bigger problems to deal with than fighting each other. But we seem to love the melee aspects of the politics instead of the solution-oriented part of politics.
What is the solution to? I know you you have a large audience, especially here at the Breakfast Lounge, and are seniors. What do you say to them, though? I mean, you hear them complain so often, the pension isn't enough, and then they got a situation with GB now, paying fuel clause, and a whole lot of other stuff going on. How do you address that?
The pensioners need immediate relief. There's no discussion there. And I asked it even when I was not in politics. I said to the Minister of Finance, the then Minister of Finance, why can you not stop taxing the pension? How much does the pension bring into the coffers of Sint Maarten on tax money? It's about 3 to 4 million guilders a year. That's it. That's what it brings in. But we prefer to cripple 2,500 pension pullers. That's what we are. That's who we are. They tell you, oh, it can't work. Why can't it work? We made it work when we needed money from Holland. We cut salaries for 25% and solidarity for 12.5%. We made it work then. So why can't we make this work for them? Because there was no will. Now GB is trying to give the seniors a little relief on their GB bill. But the bottom line is you can't give relief on something that you're paying for, which is the fuel. But if we put alternative energy in place, that is a permanent. The sun comes up every day. And people tell me, yeah, but you need it at night too. And I agree. So we invest in batteries. We invest in enough batteries that we can keep areas alight. Right now, Belvedere, they go up 4 or 5 times a day. And sometimes for long stretches, 4 hours. Yesterday, I have a gentleman who was staying in the Defiance area. Lost power for 4 hours in the morning and 3 in the afternoon.
I lost power at 4 in the morning, but I was too tired to wake up.
That is 7 hours in the span of sunrise, sunset. That is crazy. How can people live like that? You see, a lot of people don't understand the mental stress that people are put under with not having electricity, not having a fan to go on, or cold water to drink.
You can't even do your work.
People don't understand what this does to a small business that depends on electricity to function.
Yeah.
You know, you don't go to a restaurant to buy a hot juice because they don't have no ice. No. You don't do that. You know, these are things, and that's why I said, I am busy with cost analysis. Every 5 minutes that GB is out, what does it cost the country economically?
Yeah.
So that we understand that we have to be solution oriented and not just fight. And that's why I said I have no issue with the short term. I go along with the short term.
You really think we'll resolve this problem though?
With GB?
Yeah.
We have no choice. We have no choice. We have to.
State of emergency.
Yeah, we have no choice. Well, eventually, you know, there's a clause in our statute that if we can't ensure the safety of the people in this country, and the safety is also their well-being, if there's no good production of water, telecommunication, electricity, then maybe the Dutch will find themselves obligated to step in to regulate GB. So they'll come and take over GB, for example.
Do we really want that?
Well, you know, it used to be Dutch. It was Ochem. It used to be Dutch.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
When was that?
Back in the 50s, it was Ochem.
Okay.
So, but again, we need to understand that if we, by playing politics, by manipulating things, by firing and hiring who we want and why we want, and you are putting the well-being of the people of the country in jeopardy, there is a clause in our statute that allows the Dutch to come in and take care of that.
You're talking political reform now.
I wouldn't call it reform. It's, you know, normally you get it mostly in financial situations when the government with the budgets and all that. You hear I will give you an instruction.
Instruction.
The instruction can be also by GB.
We used to call that higher supervision one time.
It is to an extent.
Higher supervision, right.
But that's directly on the government.
Okay.
Here now you're talking about government-owned company, but because the government is a shareholder, they can walk in and say, "Well, I'm going to help." You can remember when the government had fired Brian Mingo What did the Dutch say? Absolutely not.
No.
Put him back or I ain't giving you no money. So they use the money tool
Yeah.
to force the government to do what
To keep
they
quiet
want.
there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
So
I
you
mean,
think this could be a case of something similar?
I wouldn't say a case of something similar. The situations is a little different because we find ourselves in a very serious crisis right now.
Correct.
Those days, the airport was different. The airport was just more mismanagement. The people, we found it was being mismanaged. I mean, you know, thank God that they have decided not to renew the contract. I understood in the grapevine. So at least there will be some kind of peace there now moving forward.
Right.
But, you know, it's a pity that we sometimes take so long to get things done in this country.
While we're talking about relief for seniors, what about relief for transportation? Relief in transportation, because you do hear them complain about that too.
They must complain. There was a free-for-all when it comes to licenses. You know, elections came and they started sharing licenses as if it was out of style. I know the minister, if I understood them correctly, they are busy having SWB review the processes and see was it done correctly, was it not done correctly. Look, a bus license and a taxi license, the fundamental rule there is it's your first source of income. You can be a casino controller at night and drive in a taxi in the morning. Can be, because the casino controller is the source of income. Or you can be working in the bank during the day and at night you're running taxi by a hotel, because the bank is the first source of income. The same goes for bus drivers. You can't have it both. That's what it was made for. So I think they're going to be looking at those type of things, and if those things pop up, that will be grounds to revoke the license. Now, again, if the licenses were given genuinely, kudos, you know, I'm happy for everybody. But if they were not given under the right pretenses, then that should be looked at carefully and dealt with accordingly.
Right. Okay. The party will be contesting the election with how many candidates?
16.
16 in total.
Yes.
Okay. Any female candidates on board?
Yes, we have a few.
Okay. All right. When will you be launching?
We launched already,
Yeah,
in the sense of we came out, but for us,
in Parliament, but
yeah,
I mean,
no, but remember,
Right.
our manifesto didn't change.
Okay.
Nothing really changed much other than what we have been able to accomplish thus far in the justice and, for example, in the education. But even in justice, you know, we have now realized that we are being confronted with like problems again. We had a foster home open, foster home closed. And the question is, what happened there? There was a big to-do. We opened the foster home last year, and this year the foster home is closed already. We are now confronted with it. Where are those kids? What do we do with them? How do you? So you get other problems that are coming on. They're working hard on the national decrees of the police officers, the immigration officers, trying to get those out. Make sure you have the money to pay them also. You know, so there are some new problems, but there are a lot of what we are going to be focusing on, I want to believe, is the low-hanging fruits. There are various low-hanging fruits that we need to go after and bring them out and ensure that the country and its people see a real difference. So we got to stop talking about the difference and show the difference, you know. Grace, I spoke a lot about agriculture, and people looked at me and I said, you know, if I'm going to talk about it, let me do it. So with my daughter, because that was the engine.
So you did the farmers market.
Yes, but we started before that. We did our own thing at home, you know.
Correct.
So we went to Denisio. Denisio had funding for classes. We followed the classes. He taught us different things. He taught us also the aspect of the business of farming. You know, what comes with it and what doesn't come with it. And June 29th, last weekend we had a wonderful farmers market.
Thanks for going live.
Yes, and I did that because I needed people to see.
Yeah.
And you know how many seniors came to that farmers market and bought? I mean, all the people that were there really sold their produce, you know. And I want to tell people, listen, July 7th, I believe it is, Ebenezer got a mango fest.
Correct.
Come out, enjoy.
You spoke highly of it last
Yeah,
year.
yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
I bought the mango jam, the mango juice, you know, they had mango soap. You know, listen, the thing is this. Tis we own thing.
Born, bred, and created
Support
right
it.
here.
Support it. Don't just talk about it. Go there.
Be
and
about it.
Yes. Be part of it, and that's what I decided to do with agriculture. I don't want to just talk about it. I want it to be a new pillar in our economy. I want it to be a new sense of income, but also a new sense of food sustainability. So I don't need to depend on when the trailer is going to come, the container going to reach here with food. No, we have some here ourselves. We can survive a few days.
So how often will we be seeing this farmers market?
I think for now we started once every month, and then we want to break it up to once every 2 weeks, and then once every week, and then hopefully once every day.
Yeah. Wow.
Eventually, if you have enough, because we are the Sint Maarten Farmers Cooperative, so farmers are just joining us, and the more people join, the more produce you have.
How many members are there?
Right now,
Farmers Cooperative, that's what it's called?
Yes, Sint Maarten Farmers Cooperative. We are now, I think, 13 of us.
Okay, including your daughter?
Yes. My daughter is the farmer.
What actually
she has the company
to get into agriculture, though?
It started with chickens.
Yeah, I remember when you had the chickens.
So we're busy now. We're fixing up the cubs again.
Yeah.
So we could get the young chicks now again. And a few months later, we have eggs again to sell.
Okay.
As our primary clients were seniors. Seniors like this health food. They're more conscious of what they eat.
Yeah. That's why I said that, because I remember growing up, we always had chickens, and my mother used to get up in the morning, go in the chicken coop and take out the eggs. We weren't the type that used to go buy eggs, So we and the thing, Bunks, is Mr. Van Camper is that we spoke highly of agriculture after the passing of Hurricane Irma in 2017.
Yes.
Everybody went back to farming, and then eventually everybody went forgot about it. Some stayed there, some maintained their gardens, but then you saw more people went back to their usual life. Of doing the thing. But
it's not easy. Farming is hard work.
It is.
I can tell it's hard work, but it's very
planting
rewarding.
Easy, but it's when you see when you reap the harvest of your fruit.
Yeah.
I actually had 2 pineapples, and it was the best
pineapple you ever tasted.
You ever tasted.
No matter how bitter they were the best.
It was. Listen, I had the sweetest of the sweetest pineapples because there were no chemicals, nothing. It was worth the wait. It was worth the wait. It takes a while, but trust me, boy. I just sat there and when I see how I pull her off, put her on the counter there, let her turn yellow, and I cut that. Oh my gosh. Ooh. I shared it with some of my friends, and they were like, wow.
No, it is something that, in the past it was the thing, and it has to become the thing again.
Yeah.
Agriculture has to become the thing. Fisheries have to become the thing. We have to be sustainable. We cannot depend on everything being brought to us here, So.
And the soil is rich.
Yes, we have good soil.
We got really good soil.
We got good soil. We have good soil. We really have good soil.
Yeah. So come August 19, who we voting for?
We voted for we voted for the number 2 man on the list. I think I have the ability, the capability to run this country. I believe in the country. I believe in its people. You always have those that say, nah, he ain't from we. I always say, I from we. Who you from? Because at the end of the day, Sint Maarten is for Sint Maarteners or whom has made Sint Maarten their home. It's not for those that jump off the plane, see what they can reap, and jump back onto the plane. That's not who we are. That's not who we want to sell. We are nation, opportunity, and wealth. We want to build a nation where opportunities are full and people can make use of them to become wealthier than they are now, for sure.
All right.
That's our message. And come August 19, come out. We are the change. We are the agents of change. We are willing to stand up and fight the fight that needs to be fought. Because God knows we have a fight in our hands. And please, don't leave money fool you. It doesn't buy happiness. It doesn't buy wealth. All it buys is grievances because they owe you nothing after that.
Right. Our candidate number 2 of the Now Party, and he's also the deputy leader of the Now Party, Mr. Claudius Tonchoban Camper. He's going to be here with me on his podcast live every Wednesday. So if you can't catch him on the radio, you can catch him on his podcast live on Facebook, of course. So I know you usually did it on Mondays, but we've switched the date now to Wednesdays. I really appreciate the fact that you actually chose to do this now on the Breakfast Lounge.
Grace, I've been with you for a while, and why change a good thing?
And you've seen the results.
Yes, why change a good thing, So remember this, people. I can take my seat. The law says that. So let nobody fool you with their stories. The law says I can do it, and I'm going to do it. With your vote, I will be back.
Okay, number 2 on the Now Party slate. Nation Opportunity Wealth. Radio listeners, wrapping it up here this morning with the Breakfast Lounge. Tomorrow morning we'll be back.